For many, the start to the new year means a new beginning, a change or an improvement in lifestyle or even your attitude. From becoming more healthy, exercising more, quitting smoking, saving money, or even just living life to its fullest. A New Year's resolution can also turn your life around or it can set you up for disappointment. We are now a week into the new year so far, so have you stuck to those New Year's resolutions so far? Joining us this morning here to break down the science behind New Year's resolutions is clinical psychologist Simon Sherry. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being here.
Glad to be here.
I know this time of the year everybody's talking about resolutions, whether you make them, whether you don't. Are they a good idea or are they a bad idea?
I support the idea of New Year's resolutions fully. I think it's one of the few times in the year when we're willing to take a step back, examine who we are and what we're up to, and consider making some positive changes.
Where do you find people are going wrong, though, with their resolutions? I know lots of people, they always give them that 3-week benchmark, and people kind of start falling off the bandwagon, it seems like.
They certainly do. In fact, evidence suggests that about 25% of people will be done with their New Year's resolution within the first week.
Wow.
That's the bad news. On the upside, about 40% of people will actually continue their New Year's resolution for as long as 6 months.
But don't they say that it takes about 3 weeks to get yourself into a healthy new habit? So if you make it that far, why wouldn't you continue to kind of pursue those healthier choices?
It's a great question, and there are a lot of things that can chip away at our efforts to make successful behavioral change. I think you have to be very strategic about how you attempt to make your changes. For example, actively monitoring yourself by writing down your behaviors or even using an app can be very helpful. It keeps your goal at the forefront of your mind. You'd also want to pay careful attention to those around you and make use of positive social supports that you have available to you. I think in many cases, too, people may actually have selected a less than optimal goal. For example, in picking out a goal, it's critical to pick out a goal that speaks to who you are, what you value, what's important to you, what interests you. Don't just pick out a goal that other people have imposed upon you by nagging you or pressuring you.
Right. So something that's kind of more attainable or realistic. So not being like, I'm going to lose 80 pounds in like 2 months. Setting your limits, something that's reasonable.
You don't want to have an unrealistic or a grandiose goal, and absolutely, you want your goal to be very specific, very concrete, and very doable.
And something that was great that you mentioned is the use of apps and checking in with yourself. So even if you write it down, but maybe doing a daily planner, you know, something like what you ate today, what your weigh-in is, you know, like where you've reached, you know, muscle mass, or even having somebody check in, as you mentioned, maybe a support group. But why do you find that that's so important? Somebody kind of keeping you accountable, or somebody that knows what your process that you're going through, like kind of can keep track of you for you?
I think that tracking yourself is very important because successful behavioral change often involves a series of little action plans. And self-monitoring can help you stay on track when it comes to implementing those little action plans. We also know that social support is very valuable in making behavioral change. And around this time of year, you have to be careful who you find yourself hanging out with. For example, if you were looking to change your drinking behavior, it may be difficult to maintain relationships with all your drinking buddies.
Right, because you're that person at the bar just drinking water with a lime in there to pretend.
There's no doubt that a lot of our health behaviors, smoking, dietary changes, drinking, are in some ways contagious. So do be cautious about who you're hanging out with.
And it seems like, too, a lot of research topics kind of include the idea of perfectionism and narcissism kind of around these topics because people, as you mentioned, kind of follow somebody else's goals or their idea of what's good for them, but as you mentioned, might not be great for their body type or something like that.
A lofty and an unrealistic goal, which might be set by someone like a perfectionist or a narcissist, often ends up being self-defeating. If your goal is so unrealistically high, it almost dooms you to failure. And in failing, you may actually double down on the behavior you're trying to change, like eating too much or drinking too much.
Okay, and I guess we have about 30 seconds left, so any final tips or advice for people? I guess kind of maybe they're going off the deep end right now, need a little bit of motivation to keep on those resolutions.
people have picked out New Year's because it's a significant date, and I think that's a great place to launch behavioral change, but realize there are many other landmarks along the way during the course of a year where you can initiate change. Pick a Monday, pick your birthday, pick the start of a month. If you haven't succeeded at the start of 2017, just keep going. Oftentimes it takes many quit attempts before you successfully change behavior.
Actually, you did mention that. So take the couple of days to recoup, but then restart the next week. Don't wait until 2018 to reset your goals.
Well said.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Lots of really good advice from you.